and professional benefits, which is being presented by one of our esteemed community of practice colleagues, Linda Roszak, Burton. Next slide, please. But first, a little bit about TLD Group. As you can see, we are a small but fierce core team of 5 women located in the greater New York City and Boston areas. And we've been granted certification as a women's business enterprise by the Women's President's Educational Organization under the exceptional leadership of our President and CEO, Tracy Duberman. Next slide, please. And here is our mission. We develop leaders and teams. Whoops, I'm sorry, my screen just minimized. Okay, here we go. We develop leaders and teams to execute strategy within their organization, within their sector, and across the health ecosystem. Our vision: to transform the health industry through its greatest assets, its people, through our innovative talent development solutions. And our values: innovation, mindfulness, passion, agility, curiosity, and teamwork. Next slide, please. As many of you know, TLD Group is a global talent development consulting firm for leaders, teams, and organizations with an exclusive focus across the health ecosystem, which we define as providers, payers, and pharmaceutical companies. We work with organizations to align their talent to business strategies through our 4 services of coaching, consulting, leadership development programs, and speaking engagements. Next slide, please. Our community of practice consists of over 200 executive and physician coaches, OD consultants, academicians, and thought leaders who serve our clients across the globe. And the goal of our community of practice webinars is to gather coaching and consulting professionals from around the globe in an effort to learn from each other, deepen knowledge, and raise the level of collective expertise on leadership development across the health ecosystem. We have a community of practice group on LinkedIn dedicated to this very purpose. And so if you're not already a member, please be sure to join us. Next slide, please. Today's webinar, again, the Neuroscience of Gratitude, Discovering the Personal and Professional Benefits, is designed exclusively for and by an esteemed member of our community of practice, Linda Roszak Burton. Linda brings with her over 25 years of experience helping organizations create a strategic link between performance and results. She has vast experience as a leadership and team coach in helping to resolve conflicts, build consensus, and foster an environment of collaboration and accountability. Linda has worked extensively with healthcare leaders across a wide range of healthcare organizations, and in addition conducts ongoing research in neuroscience and positive OD as related to the alignment of employee engagement with patient customer experience and outcomes. Linda holds a BS in health education from Virginia Tech. She has an ACC designation from the ICF. She is certified in brain-based coaching from the Neuro Leadership Institute. She's a licensed positive psychology instructor. And on top of all of this, she is pursuing her MS in negotiation and conflict management from the University of Baltimore. And now it is with deep gratitude that I hand the mic over to Linda.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to the Leadership Development Group. Over the years, I have found you to be such a wonderful resource, and I'm truly honored to be with you and with everyone on today's webinar. My hope for today is that you leave with a deeper understanding of how to leverage the research findings in gratitude and neuroscience, both from a personal perspective as well as a way to enhance your already strong inventory of coaching strengths and skills. As a coach, I have found applying this research to my own practice, and I hope you'll be able to feel the same way, that it enhances how we listen to our clients and significantly informs the types of questions that we ask our clients. I think you'll see as we proceed that this is very much aligned with an appreciative inquiry approach and what I consider the development of gratitude intelligence. Now, gratitude intelligence is my term, but I believe it belongs as a subset to emotional intelligence. So I thought, because we are in the ecosystem, that we would enjoy this quote by John Henry Jowett. Gratitude is a vaccine, an antitoxin, and an antiseptic. A vaccine against the invasion of a disgruntled attitude, an antitoxin against the poison of fault-finding and grumbling, and a soothing antiseptic in the spirit of thanksgiving. So we'd like to start our first polling question with this quote in mind.
So our first question is, have any of your clients encountered someone who frequently has a disgruntled attitude? We'll give a few seconds for people to answer. Okay. And it seems that 100% of you say yes. So that's
okay. That's great. I can't see that. So if you can share that with me, that would be great, Lisa.
Okay, no problem. All right. And then the next question that we have is, how has this most impacted your client? So the choices are too much time and energy dealing with this type of person, created a toxic work environment and led to poor morale, loss of productivity, or all of the above. We'll give people a chance to vote. Okay. And we will share the results of that. It appears that 8% have experienced a loss of productivity, whereas 92% say all of the above. Okay.
Great.
And then we have another question, which is, have any of your clients encountered someone constantly complaining, finger pointing, and blaming? So we will launch that for everybody's polling pleasure. Give everybody a chance. I'm pretty sure the answer to this will be yes. So
100% maybe again.
I feel like it will be 100%, and yes, it's 100% have experienced this. So the follow-up question to that is, how has that most impacted your client? And the choices are retention issues, lost top performers, lost patients or business, resulted in poor patient satisfaction, negatively impacted client employee engagement, or all of the above. So we'll wait for responses. Okay. And I will close the poll. And the response for that is 62% say that it has negatively impacted employee engagement, whereas 38% say all of the above.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Really great input. So, yeah, that 18th century Jowett was on top of things in our century. Very quickly, thank you, Lisa, for doing that. Our time together today will be to look at the research on gratitude and the correlation to neuroscience, the practice of gratitude from the perspective of success factors, both for ourselves as coaches and also our clients. We'll talk about some applications and some Q&A. I think what I have found, and what I hope you find, is that our clients will benefit in several ways. We benefit, but our clients benefit as well. They'll gain a deeper awareness of how they think, and a deeper or a greater awareness of how their leadership style is impacted by emotions, both negative and positive, and then how that informs their success and their well-being, and certainly the success of their teams as well. And with all that comes a greater level of creativity and innovation for our clients that really supports them taking the next steps necessary to create the success that they're looking, or the outcomes that they're looking to achieve through coaching. So if anybody's driving, I'm going to read this, this next slide. It's a cat, and the cat is asking its owner, "Why don't you have a seat? And explain your lack of gratitude for the dead birds I've brought you." I love this slide. This is actually going to go into a polling question, but there's a real specific interest that I think we'll all see with this slide. So polling question number 2.
Okay. The next polling question is, what specifically did this cat do to catch the bird? So the choices are not much, got lucky, relied on instincts or quick reflexes, waited patiently with no food, water, movement, or even a nap. So we will wait for responses. Okay, I will close the poll, and it appears that 91% feel that the cat relied on instincts and quick reflexes, while 9% believe that the cat waited patiently with no food or water, etc. So there we go.
Interesting. Well, you know, B and C are correct. But when we look at C, they waited patiently, no food, no water, no concern of any other predator that they may have to be fearful of. That's actually a great example of what researchers call gratitude density. So we can say thank you to the bird, to the cat. We can say thank you to each other, but the level of density that describes how we benefited from somebody's actions or their attitude or what they sacrificed for us is really how we express gratitude for the gifts that we have. So thank you. What is gratitude? Okay, from the research, from several different research studies, we understand that we process gratitude in 2 ways. It's an affirmation of goodness and a recognition of goodness that's outside of ourselves. But our mind also engages in gratitude in 3 different ways. Intellectually, we recognize that we've received a benefit, and we willingly acknowledge the gift. So in our gratitude, we've got a gift and a giver, or a receiver. And we emotionally appreciate the gift or the giver. You know, one of the wonderful things about our brain is that gratitude blocks toxic emotions. So I can't be angry and grateful at the same time. And part of the beauty of expressing gratitude that allows us to achieve the results that we're going to be talking about is that we must perceive it as genuine. We're very, very good at spotting anybody that's disingenuine. And so with an expression of gratitude, the efforts have to be genuine on behalf of the giver. Being grateful is not about being indebted to anyone, and that it fulfills a very important need that we have. It supports our value system. And with positive psychology, gratitude is considered a strength, and the French consider gratitude a memory of the heart, which I absolutely love. The Roman philosopher Cicero considered gratitude the parent of all virtues, or the virtue of all virtues. You'll also hear me use recognition, gratitude, appreciation interchangeably in this webinar today. All of the research, all that we will talk about, is built on, first, a state of being grateful that allows us to recognize or express appreciation. Love this quote by Alex Kolb. There's a gratitude circuit in our brain badly in need of a workout. So we've had the birth of positive psychology, the growth of research in gratitude and the studies of neuroscience. We now know what our brain actually looks like on gratitude. We know about neuroplasticity, our brain being able to form new or stronger neural connections. We've probably all heard the quote, cells that fire together, fire together, cells that wire apart, fire apart. With all the studies, with all the research that's being done, we do know that the benefits of gratitude are available to almost anyone who practices it. This slide here is, I want to focus on the personal benefits that we can achieve and our clients can achieve through gratitude. Improves overall health and well-being. Robert Emmons, who's one of the foremost researchers in gratitude, has done extensive research on the health and well-being benefits. There are obviously more positive emotions, but there's also lower levels of depression and stress, more hours of sleep. Who doesn't need that? Lowers our blood pressure, actually boosts our immune system. And that also leads over into mental and heart health. There's a couple of studies done on Vietnam War veterans and Israeli youth that have been exposed to the bombing. And those that had higher levels of gratitude had lower levels of PTSD. There was also a study out of Boston Mass General that patients after a post-coronary event that practiced journaling had lower levels of certain inflammatory biomarkers. There's also a study done at the University of San Diego that followed patients that were at risk for heart failure, and those that journaled, again, saw the same reductions in those levels of inflammatory biomarkers. It is a way to increase our resilience to trauma. A great study that came out after the terrorist attacks on 9/11 that found gratitude as a major contributor to resilience after the attacks. And I think when we look at the trauma in the workplace today, that in order to bounce back from very, very difficult situations, to have that resilience can be enhanced and improved through the gratitude practice. It's not always easy to remember the bad, but that is one way that we help build further resilience, because we think about what resources we had that helped us through those difficult times, and who were the people that were really there for us. And it's reciprocal. Pay it forward. Some of you may have seen that movie. There's as humans, when someone does something for us, we feel such gratitude. It makes us feel so good, and it releases neurochemicals that we'll talk about in a moment. It wants us to be able to show that same type of gratitude either to the person that's done something for us or to someone else. So it's a beautiful way to continue to build and build and build on this positive emotion. Why is gratitude good? Certainly there's no magic pill here. Rather, it takes a lot of focus and a very sustained effort to achieve any of the results or the goodness that comes from gratitude. In Sonia Lubomirski's study, you may be familiar with the set point of happiness. 40% of an increase in happiness came from intentional activities, and two of the top activities that Sonia talks about are gratitude and acts of kindness. And only 10% of our circumstances increase our happiness. And I have a poster to this other section, to live gratefully, the benefits that we see. We're 20% more charitable to organizations with their time and treasure and dollars. We have a stronger bond to our community. I actually live in Ellicott City, Maryland, and some of you may have seen on the national news about a year and a half ago, we had a terrible flood that wiped out our main street. We had loss of life. We certainly had loss of commerce. And the perfect strangers showed up the next day to sift through the mud and the debris to pick up some of the jewelry and some of the products that our merchants had lost. The merchants didn't come out the next morning and feel grateful that they lost their entire contents, but the community that pulled together was amazing. And we're still talking about how grateful we are to live where we live and to have the community around us. It adds years to our life. It creates more satisfying relationships, obviously, and we have an increase every 10 years in our gratitude attitude. I don't know how they came up with the 5%, but I'll take any percent. Gratitude at one time was considered a simple emotion, right? We receive something nice. But researchers now see brain activities that show up in different regions and really tells us or informs us that gratitude is a very complex emotion. It isn't just about our reward center lighting up, but it also involves moral cognition, subjective value judgments, fairness, economic decision making. Think about how our clients are looking at what are the economic decisions that they need to make during their budget time or during the year. It really does support our own psychological well-being, and it connects us to others in such a way that we're able to take their others' perspective into consideration. So from our client's perspective, their view of their team can be enhanced through a practice of gratitude. I'll read this quote again in case anybody's driving. The ability to intentionally address the social brain in the service of optimal performance will be a distinguishing leadership capability in the years ahead. That's by Dr. David Roszak. Roszak explains the brain as experiencing, first and foremost, work is a social system. Our workplace is a social system. And so if we have clients that perhaps feel betrayed, maybe they were passed over for a promotion, maybe they're feeling like they're not appreciated, they're not valued enough for what they do, the experience creates a neural impulse as powerful and as painful as if we had a blow to our head. And often our clients may try to rationalize it or temper their reactions, but what that really does, it limits their commitment to what they need to accomplish and their engagement in their capacity as a leader. So when our clients have that pain triggered, it's more intense, it's long lasting. And I think, I know I have experienced, and perhaps some of you have experienced, where we're working with a client and there has been this sort of physical, neural pain that our clients have experienced. And it doesn't come up just in one session. It can come up repeatedly because because of the intensity that it's caused. It takes time to really make that shift from the personal and the emotional reaction that we have to it. So I wanted to show this next slide. I could really spend a lot of time on this slide, but so Roszak, in his work, talks about our brain has one organizing principle, and that is that there are two emotional states: away or threat, which is the fight, flight, freeze, or toward, the reward response. And so if our brain is treating the social threats, we look at it in these 5 domains. The acronym is SCAR: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. So with status, do your clients have a status in their organization that puts people in the away state or the toward state? Or perhaps your status as a coach may move somebody into the away state versus the toward state. If our clients are trying to increase the toward status that they have with their teams, let's say, one of the ways to shift to the toward or the reward state is by giving positive recognition, maybe in public, maybe one-on-one. Maybe it's by creating more learning opportunities for an individual. Our clients can also move from the away to the toward state in certainty. And so if we're coaching somebody and they're looking to achieve something in their goal, being as specific and certain about what it is that they want to accomplish, what behaviors they're looking to incorporate, really helps them feel that reward, that toward state that they're working towards. Autonomy, feeling that you are valued and trusted, working autonomously. If you have a team, if your client has a team and they value working autonomously, the filter of gratitude is to be able to express gratitude for what they have accomplished, either on their own or as a team. And of course, relatedness for ourselves as coaches, working with our clients, relatedness is really at the top of our list as being important. And we are able to create safe connections with our clients. They're able to create safe connections with their teams, and we get more of what we pay attention to. So if we are paying more attention to what's working well in any of these domains, then we'll get more of those behaviors, more of that recognition. This slide I just find very interesting. Some of you may be familiar with the Gallup Q12 Employee Engagement Survey. And at the top of this, you see the levels of engagement that Gallup uses for their Q12, and the row beneath is the levels of neurological engagement that we have with individuals from the high threat all the way to the right to the strong reward, based on the principles that our brain works under. Why it matters. When we express gratitude, or when our clients express gratitude, we gain respect and trust. It says we're human, it says we care about each other, and it says that we're paying attention to what's working well, and not just paying attention to someone that's not performing or something that's not working well. I'm not suggesting that we don't have performance improvement, but again, we get more of what we pay attention to. And so often as a coach, and I'm certain this will resonate with many of you, I find myself coaching leaders that have solid clinical and operational expertise, and many of them are trying to hone or develop their leadership capabilities that kind of fills this gap in relational expertise. How are they creating those interpersonal relationships, those safe connections? We also know from the research that it increases pro-social behaviors. And so when we think about teams that we work within, or teams that our clients work in, the pro-social behaviors that gratitude generates diminishes the less desirable behaviors. There's less anger, less hostility across teams. It also presents an interdependency. Some of your clients may work with cross-functional teams. So teams may come together for a specific project, And then after they've achieved what they need to achieve, they go back to their original departments. What we find in the research from gratitude, if we are able to coach and express gratitude for what this team has accomplished or what they are accomplishing, you'll find that more of those cross-functional team members want to come back and work for your clients again in the future. Correlates of neuroscience and gratitude. The positive impact from the research it certainly is rooted in values. And when we are tapping into values, we build trust and we have greater productivity. But the research also shows that people work harder. They're more committed to the company goals. They're more motivated to achieve the company goals, much more likely to be innovative and have greater efficiency of work. From a coaching perspective, if we help our clients adopt this new neural knowledge, we find that it actually improves overall psychological capital. And by that, I mean the positive and developmental state of each individual. There are several constructs to psychological capital: hope, optimism, resilience, gratitude, authenticity, emotional intelligence. All of these constructs now, based on the research, and which includes gratitude and other positive emotions, that it's crucial for the effective performance of an individual and for our teams, and its influence by rewarding or expressing gratitude in ways that, or with preferences that each of us have for receiving or expressing gratitude. I'll get into a little more detail on that later on. I also wanted to spend a few moments for our clients. I think the word now that replaces employee engagement is employee experience. And so if our clients are looking to make a bigger difference or a stronger connection with our employee experiences, gratitude on a neurological perspective increases reward and self-regulatory circuitry with these results: increased cognitive resources, more innovative, fewer mistakes, and they're able to solve more complex problems, more collaborative, more willingness to support others. Again, that's the pro-social behaviors that happen when gratitude is more of the fabric of our clients' culture, or even in our own cultures within our own organizations. Let me explain this slide, and then Lisa, we talked about opening this up to see if we can have a dialogue around this. If that doesn't work, then we'll try to go to the chat box. So these are the success factors both for the coach as well as the client. And I wanted to touch base here on the practice of self-gratitude. I think everything that we read talks about our practice of gratitude by journaling or writing down 3 good things and putting them in a jar. What's often overlooked is a practice of self-gratitude, and we don't gravitate towards that very well. I have some prompts that I will share later in the webinar, but also will send you after today's program, to think about what it is, what gifts that we have, and acknowledging how that allows us to be the coach that we are today. It allows us to see the best in ourselves and allows us to see the best in our clients. It increases our intelligence towards looking more at what we're grateful for and less about maybe what we don't have. It does suspend negative judgments. I came across this great quote the other day, the way to move out of judgment is to move into gratitude. And so, you know, sometimes in my work with clients, they have a negative judgment, or they have, certainly we all have a negativity bias. We come into this world with that. It's kept us alive. And a confirmation bias that, you know, just allows us to confirm what we're seeing based on our pre-existing notions. And so from a neurological perspective, when we have stronger pathways of what's working well, of taking someone's perspective into consideration, of acknowledging that the world may not be perfect, but there are so many things that we are grateful for that we can bring from ourselves into our organizations, to our families, to our communities, that we benefit from that. And so you see on the client side of this slide, exactly the same success factors. If they're able to practice self-gratitude and personal gratitude, they themselves create a neurological shift that can allow them to progress, to be motivated, to achieve the goals that they're looking for. It does allow them to see what's best in their employees. It does certainly increase their gratitude intelligence. Again, suspends negative judgments. You know, there's so many things that our clients see in their world that creates judgments immediately. Maybe it's the length of the white lab coat, or it's the color of a uniform. And so because we're hardwired to see the negative, gratitude allows us to put that aside, suspend that judgment, really look at an individual with the interest of who they are and what talents and skills and abilities they bring. And again, the release of neurochemicals that we will go through a little further into the program today. So we're about 40 minutes into this. I'm curious, Lisa, can we try to open this up and ask some questions?
Sure.
Of the audience?
Just giving everyone a heads up that I'm going to unmute everyone, so that you can ask questions.
Okay. Okay, great.
Some people are
Great.
still muted, so if they would like to unmute themselves and ask a question, please feel free.
Gotcha. Well, when I have one question I'd love to ask. So when you look at both these, the coach and the client success factors, as a coach, do any of these factors kind of stick out in your mind, stand out in your mind, or any of these that you find more meaningful than another? Okay.
Again,
Do any of you?
Hi, this is Kim Lemon. I think the thing that's sort of coming up for me is around being the best in themselves and employees. I guess what I have observed is as people are operating more from a place of gratitude, it does allow them to sort of see the glass as, half full. It also allows them to sort of look through a lens where they're sometimes less likely to view others as suspects, sort of assuming positive intent and, not be as judgmental about their employees or mistakes that employees are making or other points of view that colleagues may hold that are different from theirs.
Kim, thank you. And when you reflect on that, are there Are there outcomes that come to mind that you see that your clients have been able to achieve because they are coming from that positive intent, that place of seeing the best in themselves and their employees? Any specific outcomes?
I think it has a positive effect on the energy that they're then willing to put forward in whatever that interaction may be and what that ultimate goal is, whether it's pursuing a business imperative or developing an employee and giving them some additional chance to improve and grow. It makes them, I think, a bit more patient and thoughtful, and that supports them achieving their outcome.
Beautiful, thank you. Anyone else have any of these factors kind of resonating with you?
Linda, it's Tara, and I just want to share a comment that was posted that says that gratitude suspends negative judgment is new learning. So it seems like this was a really salient point that one of our attendees really gravitated towards.
Yeah, I love that. Would they like to expand more on that? How that looks within their coaching practice? By any chance?
I think it was posted more as an aha moment of, wow, the fact that gratitude suspends negative judgment is new learning.
Perfect.
It's being embraced. Yes.
Exactly. Well, if you think about some of the work that you've done in your past clients or maybe a current client, do you see this as something that you could approach them in bringing up the topic of gratitude? Do you see that you would be able to approach your clients through your practice? While you're thinking
about it.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I mean, I think many of the clients that I have are experiencing stress and burnout. And I think in almost all cases, it's one of the things that I'm covering with them because, it's in healthcare today, it feels like people need to really take a look at what they have power and control to impact, right? Because the systems are difficult right now, and I don't think change is going to come quickly. So trying to find things that the individual can do, even though we talk a lot about how important systems change is, right? But wanting a resource for individuals feels really important. So I love that, and I really appreciate all the research you're bringing forward today to back this up.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I also think of a client that I worked with last year. Talk about a neural blow to the head. There was a situation that occurred where the CEO publicly disrespected my client, and it took a long time for my client to put this in the right perspective. And that's what earlier when I said sometimes it takes sessions, and sometimes we might even think that our client has moved beyond that, and it will surface again further down the engagement. And this one particular client I'm thinking about, the emotional response, the personal response that they had because of the situation, and it didn't just happen once. It was happening on numerous occasions. The one thing that helped her, not the only thing, but one thing that helped her was to look at, could she be grateful for this CEO in any way? And could she be grateful for how she was beginning to handle this situation differently, less emotionally, and through the course of several months, the client actually said to me, I can now look at the picture of the CEO and not have a negative reaction in my mind and my body. And so lots of work to be able to minimize that threat, right? Just the sight of an individual that has been disrespectful, that to be able to minimize the impact of that through an expression of gratitude, whether it's our self-gratitude, our own practice, or expressing gratitude to the individual at some point, really helped to minimize that. So I thought that was really, really quite powerful in how this was one positive emotion that allowed this client to achieve something that if she did not overcome this, if it was not minimized, work would have suffered, relationships would have suffered, and certainly there was a time where this quite talented and exceptional individual would have thought of leaving the organization. I love this quote at the bottom of this slide. To see another with an appreciative eye, one must be able to look at oneself the same way. You know, having a designation through the ICF, part of who we are as coaches is to view our clients as whole and resourceful and creative. And so I asked, shouldn't we also look at ourselves the same way and accept our meaningfulness, accept the value that we bring into our own practice and into the world of the clients and the organizations that we coach. So before we, I guess we go back to the next slide, any other comments or questions about these success factors?
So Linda, it's Tara again, and I just wanted to share another comment that was posted from one of our coaches who said that she's working with a client now to appreciate the team's work more, to shift the perception of bullying.
Ooh.
So it's my guess, and if the person is available to go off mute, I welcome it. I'm going to make an assumption here, but it sounds like the focus in working with the client on the behaviors of appreciating their team's work more to offset and to shift the perception of that individual as a bully. Maybe it's a misperception, but I think by working with that individual to help them to really outwardly appreciate the team's work, as an antidote to this perception. So it's very much within this line of work.
Love it. Yes, absolutely. So over the years, what I have found in coaching, whether it's an individual or a team, that there always surfaces the topic of somebody bullying or drama, and so much power and so much energy go to those situations. And so what I think this individual is tapping into with me is that if we pay more attention to the bullying, we get more of it. Not to say that we should allow it. Obviously, there should be no tolerance to that. But the shift to the individuals that are there, they're present every day, every shift, and really care about what they're doing. And there's a image coming to my mind right now. It's work out of Gallup. If you think of a standard distribution curve, Gallup says that there's about 20%, 16 to 20% in any organization are negative outliers, right? The bullies. We call them BMWs. They bully and moan and whine. And another 16 to 20% are the positive outliers that don't get enough of our attention. That's where the gratitude really can present itself. I can't tell you how many times when I'm talking to the people that are finally feeling gratitude towards what they do contribute, because they feel like they've been overlooked. And it's so easy. Why, if our energy is going to the negative people in our environment, the people that are the top performers, they often get unnoticed, they get unrecognized, they leave. So there was another, you're presenting another study that came out with the, it was the, trying to think of the study. It was a Journal of Workplace Health Management or something like that. And it actually was looking at nurses. And the study found that gratitude was the #1 predictor in greater safety and quality environments, less absenteeism. How many times do people know who they're working with that day and they just know it's going to be a terrible experience? So there's lots of data that shows how we can overcome the cynicism, can better deal with the negative behaviors and infuse our work environment with more of the positive behaviors. Any other questions? I don't know why I can't see the... Anyway, so shall we proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I put everyone else on.
Sounds good.
Put everybody back on mute, just FYI.
Okay. Thank you. Next polling question.
Okay. Hold on one second while we bring up the polling questions. Okay, so our next polling question is very simple. Has someone expressed gratitude to you in the past week, month, year, or not at all? So we'll give a few seconds for people to respond. Okay. All right. Closing the poll. And it appears that 89% have had someone express gratitude to them in the past week, and
Yay.
11% in the past year. So part 2 to that question is, have you expressed gratitude to someone? So we'll let everybody vote on that. Again, have you expressed gratitude to someone in the past week, month, year, or not at all? We'll give everybody a chance to answer. Okay, closing the poll. And 100% of people have expressed gratitude to someone else in the past week. So,
Yay!
Great group.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. These questions are actually adapted from Grateful Leadership, which is a book that I highly recommend everybody take a look at, and the Center for Grateful Leadership. Its membership with the center is free. There's wonderful resources. Judy Olmus, who is the author of Grateful Leadership, and I have done a couple of programs together. When I first found her book, Grateful Leadership, about 2 years ago, I was so excited because I was happy to see those two words together, Grateful Leadership. Anyway, next, here we go. Oops, sorry. Couple of thoughts here. So gratitude is one of several positive emotions. And if we cultivate more of these positive emotions in our life, then our well-being improves, the meaning in our lives improve. There's greater emotional regulation. You know, we kind of understand and manage our emotions much better. We do develop an optimistic explanatory style. So the gratitude, the hope, optimism, self-efficacy, resilience, inspiration, those are not the only positive emotions, but there's ones that really tie into today's program and the psychological capital that we spoke about before. Barbara Fredrickson, in her broaden and build theory of positive emotion, tells us that we experience more positive emotions in a day than we do negative. The unfortunate part is that these positive emotions are fleeting. We might be present in these emotions for maybe 90 seconds. We burn through a positive emotion. So if anybody saw a beautiful sunrise this morning, that emotion of awe was present. 90 seconds later, we're in traffic, or we're being challenged by an email, and so her broaden and build theory is that we do need to become more aware of the positive emotions that we have experienced in any given day. The bad news about negative emotions, which all of us know, is that they're contagious. They stay with us for a much longer period of time. When I talk about the neurochemical of cortisol, that's the stress hormone that acts like a long-acting drug. It's in our system 24 to 26 hours. So if we have a client that was stressed yesterday at the end of their day, they came to work this morning, cortisol is still coursing through their bloodstream, and if there's something else that adds to their stress, to their burnout, to their sense of overwhelm, they're dumping more and more of that cortisol in their system. So the seesaw is, as Susan David in her book Emotional Agility, we can't just say think positive. It doesn't. That actually can feel like an ultimatum. If you're not thinking positive, there's something wrong. But it's to notice the emotions that we're feeling, and not let them take us down that rabbit hole. Not let them take over or inform the stories that we're telling ourselves or our clients are telling ourselves. So again, as a coach, we all have dealt with negative emotions in our coaching sessions. And so part of a practice that I use, and that I hope you do or will moving forward, is to be able to make that shift. What is working well? What was one positive emotion that you experienced today? Or what's one positive emotion that you want to experience by the end of the day that we will keep working towards, even though we know we're going to run into obstacles, challenges, etc. Polling question number 3. Did I go backwards? I'm sorry, I did. I think I should know how to handle this mouse by now. Sorry. Neurochemicals. Okay, here's the caveat. I'm not suggesting that all we need to do is mix up a few neurocognitive cocktails and voila, we're all in a better place. But these are just some of the neurochemicals that are associated with gratitude that I thought would be helpful to look at for ourselves and obviously with our clients. So dopamine, when we're expressing gratitude or our clients are expressing gratitude for something good in their life, or we're showing gratitude for someone that is maybe somebody on our client's team that has done good work, our brainstem releases dopamine. It makes us feel good, and we want more of it. Now, the example I love to use here is when our text chime goes off, we get a shot of dopamine because, oh my gosh, somebody's texting me, right? And we wonder why it's so difficult to not text and drive. It's because that chime releases that dopamine, and we want to respond, and we want to get chimed again, and we want to respond. So aside from the texting and driving, from our client's perspective, it again drives pro-social behaviors. Think of teamwork. It's linked to intrinsic motivation in achieving a goal. And Daniel Pink has done some great work about that. Serotonin. Serotonin's been considered the leadership chemical. When we reflect, or even as we write, that's why journaling is such a great practice in gratitude. When we write down the positives in our life and at work, whether we do it or our client does it, we're actually releasing serotonin. It enhances our mood, right? Think antidepressant, but it increases our willpower, our motivation. Writing thank you notes, listing 3 good things, this all helps create pride and confidence in ourselves, in our clients. You know, there's a former CEO of Campbell's Soup, Doug Conant, and Roush, who's the now retired CEO of Trader Joe's. They were known for writing thank you notes every day. They were known for sitting with staff and infusing their culture with their own gratitude, that it became part of their culture. So just think of that. Walk into a Trader Joe's today, and that feeling of the positives that they exhibit by working there. It's palatable. And oxytocin. Great news about oxytocin is that it inhibits cortisol. But of course, we need more oxytocin to continue to exhibit cortisol because of the long-lasting impact it has. So our clients can probably think of times where they've walked out of a team dinner or maybe a retreat, and there's been this feeling of trust and safety and camaraderie. That is oxytocin at work. Did it again, sorry. There is the existence of a gratitude gap in our society. This is a study done by the John Templeton Foundation. 90% of the respondents to the study they did considered themselves grateful. Only 52% of the women and 44% of the men surveyed expressed gratitude on a daily basis. And so I think that holds true whether it's in our workplace, in our communities, etc. That we don't consider ourselves to be ungrateful, but we don't express it as we should. Obstacles to gratitude. I do love this quote by Brene Brown. What separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude. Entitlement is the opposite of gratitude. I actually heard an interview with Carlos Santana the other day, who said he thought the opposite of gratitude was negative entitlement, which I loved. I thought that was another great way of expressing it. An obstacle to gratitude is because we're hardwired for negativity. It's our default. We go there. That's why it's that the focus and the sustained gratitude practice that yields the results that we've been talking about. Distractions, they're all over the place. The myth of complacency, this is something that you may have seen. People feel that, hey, if you're expressing gratitude to somebody, they're just going to stop working. They're going to become complacent because, and it's a myth. Lots of leaders, and maybe you've seen some of your clients, feel that it's soft stuff. It has nothing to do with getting the results and charging ahead. Or that they feel that if they express gratitude, somehow that'll show that they're vulnerable. And we'll talk about maybe how to help them overcome that. This is a tool that we put together, and I'm happy to send this as a handout to everybody after today. So if distractions keep us from practicing gratitude, then mindfulness would be the first step. To really be able to reflect on what's abundant in our lives, what's abundant in our clients' lives, where are there areas of positive energy that we want to pay more attention to. And so with that awareness, we always say with awareness comes choice. So if I'm more aware of what I should be grateful for, how do I acknowledge it? Is it setting up some deliberate practice? Is something in our schedule? Something at the beginning of a client's team meeting? Personally, every Friday morning, including this morning, I journal. And so I set that deliberate practice in my calendar. And so after we acknowledge it, what's the preference? My preference is journaling. Your client's preference may be publicly expressing gratitude to a team member or team members that have allowed the team to accomplish or achieve the results that they've been looking to achieve. Whatever the preference is, again, it has to be rooted in what is considered valuable, must be genuine, and it is something that fulfills an important need, whether it's in our client or in our client's team. And specificity, think about the cat bringing the dead bird. What is it about a person's actions, experiences, behaviors, even sacrifices that we want to be specific enough in how we express that gratitude? Guidelines. Well, it absolutely does start with ourselves. It starts with our clients. It starts with each of us. And it's easy to get overwhelmed, right? I can't remember the individual talking before about that there is this sense of overwhelm and there is this burnout, and to be able to make the shift from oh my gosh, what is it that I'm going to face today, to what is it that I have? What is it that I have? What are the gifts that I'm bringing to my team today? It has to be specific to values, behaviors. It needs to be genuine and frequent. There's no such thing as being grateful too often, as long as it's specific, as long as it follows the preferences that our teams like to receive that recognition. We set the tone, our clients set the tone. And one of the things that Judy almost talks about is thank the invisible people. So if we have a client that really is not comfortable with recognition or gratitude, one of the best things that Judy recommends is to thank somebody in your organization that's invisible. We walk past them all the time, and you have no connection to their performance, no connection to what they get paid. To be able to practice expressing gratitude for what they do contribute to the overall team or the overall organization, and then to be able to reflect on what their reaction was and what your feelings were after doing that. Above all, it's not a competitive sport. So for our clients to be grateful is not to look at what they have that another executive does not have, and that is not a healthy practice. It's not gratitude at all. It's not a healthy practice. A couple of ideas: journaling, listing people or things that we're grateful for, gratitude letter. I have a handout I'd love to send to you as well. There's writing a letter of gratitude to somebody that has made a meaningful difference in our life is one of the best ways to achieve the benefits of gratitude. Better yet, when we write that letter, don't mail it, don't email it, go to that person and read that letter out loud. And if that person is no longer alive, then read it to someone that was as close to that individual as you were. Visual reminders: think of the pictures of loved ones, of things, places that you've gone on vacation, the visual reminders of what's really rich and what's right in our lives. Some of my clients get a gratitude buddy, or they've started a gratitude group, so that the building of great gratitude intelligence is something that, from an HR practitioner's point of view, helps them in the work that they're doing to create more positive and healthy work environments. Gratitude wall, kudos wall, we always see that as being very helpful. So the next couple of slides, and I have handouts to send you with this as well. If we want to take a look at a self-gratitude practice, then these are prompts to use to specifically describe, perhaps, your top 3 values and why you're grateful for them, and what benefits do you have as a coach, as a person. What are your top 3 strengths? Why are you grateful for them, and what benefits do they offer you in your coaching practice? What are the unique qualities of a coach? Maybe it's the ability to really build a strong bond of trust with your client. How do you benefit? How do they benefit? These gifts that we come into the world with, that or that we develop further in our life, again, that specifically describing what we should be grateful for in who we are. And sometimes it's helpful to look at a past adversity with a positive outcome. And what about that are we able to be grateful for? I don't know, we're 15 minutes away from conclusion, but if anybody would like to write other prompts that you think we would benefit from, we'd love to see that. Sorry, client prompts. I have a handout I'm happy to share with you as well. So if our client is going to be practicing gratitude, here are some ideas that they can use so that they're infusing their culture, bringing more gratitude into focus. And the one I really love is, that I get from a question I get from my clients. So I practice gratitude, says my client, but my boss doesn't. And so one of the most valuable things, kind of the coaching up, right? If we're able to express gratitude to our boss, we're making a shift in how we perceive that relationship. And over time can create a shift in our boss. And again, if there's others, please include them. So here's close to the last slide. I always think that it's so great to participate in a webinar, but have something to take with us, to be able to use. So here's a couple of ideas for an action plan. What's one action you'll take personally to tap into your own gratitude circuitry? As a coach, what's one action you'll take to tap into your client's gratitude circuitry? If you're a leader, or even from a client's perspective, what's one action to tap into employees? And then again, to identify someone that is unrecognized for their contributions, and how can you express that? So that takes us to the next polling question, Lisa. And there are only 2 of those.
Yes. Hold on one second. So the last 2 questions are, what one action will you take personally to tap into your own gratitude circuitry? Will you set a deliberate practice to journal at least 1 day a week? Plan to write a note of gratitude to one person per week? Or schedule a 5-minute meditation? So we'll wait for some answers.
Great.
Okay. Give it a couple more seconds, and okay. It appears that, I'm closing the poll, sharing with the group, that 14% say that they will set a deliberate practice to journal at least 1 day a week. 14% also plan to write a note of gratitude to one person per week, and 71% plan to schedule a 5-minute meditation.
Ah, awesome. That's interesting. Wonderful. Yay. Yay.
Okay, and then the final question is, as a coach, which one action will you take to tap into your client's gratitude circuitry? And the options there are: ask the client what they are grateful for about their leadership style, ask the client what they are grateful for about their team, or ask what action the client will take to have company gratitude, basically as a component of their culture. So we'll give people a chance to answer that. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. And it seems like 1/3, 2/3. So 33% will ask their client what they are grateful for about their leadership style. And 2/3 of the groups at 67% ask what they are grateful for about their team.
Wonderful. Interesting. Thank you. Okay. Questions? Thoughts?
I'm going to unmute everyone. So if you don't want, you can self-mute if you want, but I'm going to make it so that everybody can talk if they would like to.
While Lisa's doing that, Linda, I just want to let you know I've received a bunch of messages of people who had to drop off. One wrote, "Thank you for this session. I have to leave before the close, but I'm grateful for Linda sharing her knowledge." And somebody else wrote, "I'll probably need to drop off soon. This is excellent. I can't tell you how pleased I am with this." So I just, in the spirit of gratitude, just wanted to share those 2 comments.
Oh, love it. Thank you.
All right. All of those who are muted by me are unmuted so that they can make a comment if they want at this point. Somebody is typing seriously.
Or a question, yeah.
So people are not asking questions. If everybody could just self-mute, that would be great. In the meantime, Linda, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
People are typing. At what point in time would you say one would bring the concept of gratitude into their coaching practice?
Mm-hmm. I bring it in right at the beginning. And there's a process that I go through, and I'm sure it's what most of the coaches go through, where you're taking that initial intake. And one of the questions that I ask them is, what are they grateful for? And it tells me a couple of things. One, it tells me how much they resonate with gratitude. They may or they may not. And the second thing I asked them, and this is at the very beginning as well, is in what ways do they believe gratitude would support their leadership style, or as we get further into the goal clarification, is gratitude an asset that they believe would support the goal that they're trying to achieve? So I bring it in at the very beginning, and I also visit it during the goal refinement period. We always like to look at what the strategies and actions are, obviously, to achieve a goal, but we also look at what are the assets, the strengths, the positive emotions, the relationships, their way of thinking that will allow them to accomplish that goal. So it's certainly at the very beginning and also throughout the process of achieving a goal or outcomes.
Terrific.
Marion?
Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
I often start every session with what are you grateful for? Not so much for the specificity of the answer, but for where it puts the mindset it creates for the rest of the session.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely. It sets the tone, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. Just, they change physically. It's amazing.
It's beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for including that. That is so key. Because obviously we do want to start off with progress or, how we'd like to end up the session, but starting off with that sense of gratitude or acknowledging what we're grateful for, you're exactly right. It shifts the energy, it shifts our mindset, the way we think. So thank you so much. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Hi.
Hello. Hi, my name's Jeff Cohn. I'm a newbie to the call. I appreciate very much what you've been sharing with us. How do you hold up the concept of using and expressing gratitude vis-a-vis the very real challenges and issues that people in healthcare are facing, and have it not be viewed as kind of a bait and switch, that it's an and both. Yes, we have things to be grateful for, and we've got real issues, and we're not using this as a distraction.
Right.
So what's your thoughts?
Jeff, I love that. That is, the reality is that it's very difficult today in the work that we do and the work that our clients do. And it isn't an either or. We have to be serious. We have to take care of performance issues. We have to get to those results, et cetera, et cetera. And so earlier on, when we were talking about why it matters, is because when it's genuine, when we're tapping into what the organizational values are, what the individual believes is valuable, then we're using gratitude in a very genuine way, and we're able to acknowledge it. And so anytime somebody feels that an expression of gratitude is to get something, that indebtedness, that's not gratitude. And there may be times when an individual isn't ready for this, regardless of whatever the circumstances are. There are some times where people are not ready to embrace this, and you can't force it. What's that saying? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So right, if it can't start with you, as we talked about earlier, then maybe the time isn't right as it is, because no one, we probably have all had people do things and we think there's an ulterior motive versus the positive intention that I think Kim was talking about before. So we really have to size that up and look at who are we working with, what team is our client working with, and whether or not they can use it to gain the benefit, and if the timing isn't right, to not go there. What do you think of that?
I think that's great. If I may just add one more way that I've coupled them is that, you know, I, on the one hand, speak honestly about what the challenges are, and then hold up what we have to be grateful for, which oftentimes represents like a positive deviant, the success that's happening in spite of the barriers that everybody is facing, and that what we have to be grateful for may actually be our pathway out of this. That, you know, let's discover how was that able to happen, even though they're dealing with the same crap as everybody else, and, you know, what might we able to learn collectively to take us forward.
Love that. And what hope that gives for the next challenge that is right around the corner. Thank you. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
If anybody else wants to continue typing, I wanted to make sure that you also know I'm very grateful for you today, but that this slide deck includes a lot of resources that you'll have available to you. This is not all of them, but certainly the ones that are most reflected in today's program. There's a couple of quizzes, individual gratitude quiz and a quiz for organizations that your clients might be interested in. And then more information, this is my contact, but also, Tara, you know, if anybody in this community is interested in facilitating, I think you'd love to hear from them.
I sure would. I would love it. So if anybody has any ideas that they would like to present to our community of practice, please reach out to me. I would love it. I can't thank you enough, Linda. This was a fantastic presentation. I got a whole bunch more quick messages through this server to that point. And then I just want to quickly hand over to Tracy Duberman, who I know also wants to speak here. Tracy?
Thank you, Tara, very much. I felt as if feeling the gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. So I did want to take a moment, Linda, to thank you very much for your great presentation, very practical suggestions that we can all use as coaches and talent development professionals. And also to acknowledge that we individually as coaches and as we come together as a community of practice, whether it's through TLD group or through other means, that we really owe our collective success to the help and acknowledgement of others. And with that in mind, that is the reason why this community of practice is so important to us. And we really look forward to the value that it creates for our faculty members, and look forward to producing additional community of practice webinars in the future. So Linda, thank you. And I thank everybody that's a part of our organization. I wish everybody continued success, and we look forward to working together in the near future.
Great, thank you. Thank you to everybody, including everyone from TLD. It's been an honor, and I am most grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.